Greetings, this is Dr. Beth with Module 5. We're beginning to create a multidisciplinary UbD curriculum unit. And we're going to be doing Stage 1 in its entirety for this first module, Module 5. And you have already designed or considered a big idea when you developed your lessons, and now you're going to expand that big idea to your entire unit. You're going to provide, using this big idea, it provides a conceptual unifying lens to the instruction that you're providing. There's the big umbrella. It's drawn from the standards that you're using and approaching. It has overarching relevance for people in their lives in general. So eventually, when these students become mature adults or even adolescents, this is going to have meaning for them, something they want to take away. It's an important topic to other people, and it can be examined through multiple academic disciplines. And this is what's new during this section of the course for ED621B. A big idea is not about skills or techniques. It's about big understandings. For example, colonialism is not a big idea. Self-governance is a big idea. Slave trade is not a big idea. It's important, but not a big idea. Balanced and imbalanced power relations is a big idea. So these things fall under the big ideas. The rock cycle is not a big idea. Fun, but not a big idea. The effects of geologic forces is a big idea. Magnets are not a big idea, but magnetism is a big idea. It affects our planet and keeps us safe from the sunstorms, for one. Impressionism is not a big idea. The evolution of classical painting is a big idea. Why did classical painting even evolve? Writing an essay is not a big idea. It's an academic task. Writing to communicate is a big idea. So on the left are topics, which are fine. These should be used to support learning about the big ideas. After you've reconsidered your big idea, you want to collect standards from not one, but four to five other disciplines. Actually, four other disciplines, because you already have your first standard. The thinking and doing verbs are embedded, when you unpack the standard, you're creating a transfer goal. They're embedded. It is from these verbs that you create your objectives. So your transfer goals need to have also active verbs in them. As I mentioned to some of the students last quarter, the only place you're going to have the word understanding is in the enduring understandings box. That's the only place where you get to use that word. The rest of your work, the goals and the objectives and the assessments, all need active verbs. The verbs are defined and can be measured. They can be easily understood by students and families. The learning is relevant, meaningful to the students. The learning is something that the child should be able to know and do and is important beyond their immediate interests or cultures. That it's like knowing how to drive a snow machine is important. Knowing how to keep people safe on a road no matter what you're driving is really the bigger piece. That's what a transfer goal might look like. Then you're going to take a look at the essential questions. What is the essence of your big idea? What do you want to ask students to think about? Open-ended questions that are thought-provoking and interpretive at the heart of a subject or curriculum. They're at the core of your content and lead to or require further investigation. If your question can be answered yes or no in any sort of way, it is not an essential question. It needs to be something that leads students to higher level thinking, to further thought, to curiosity, to investigation. They have no obvious right answer. They raise more questions than they may answer. In fact, they don't answer questions. They raise more questions, and they address concepts that are key to the discipline. So if it's social studies, what are the concepts? And these are your big ideas. You're going back to your big ideas. The enduring understandings anchor the unit. So your enduring understandings and your essential questions are going to cover your entire unit. These are the questions that by the time you're done with your unit, students will be able to address, at least at some level. What is worth studying? It requires an uncoverage of abstract or misunderstood ideas. It reveals the big ideas, and what do we want students to understand and be able to use several years from now after they've forgotten the details? Essential questions set the stage for students to have multiple opportunities using multiple means to investigate and demonstrate their thinking, their knowledge, and their understanding through various content area paths. I have a great visual, but I think it's in another PowerPoint that describes that. Remember that your objectives that you're building off of your goals and that are related to the goals and the enduring understandings are to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. They're directly related to the unit goals relative to the grade level you're working in. So what is integrated? Well, everything. It can be integrated means putting things together. That means that you're creating a color wheel with a variety of colors that all work together, some separately and some together. In this particular visual, you see math, science, and English language arts. What do they each have specific that are separate, and what do they have in common in the middle? And they all require students to be able to construct viable arguments and critique reasoning of others, use value evidence as support for a claim, and engage in argument from evidence. All of these three things do. So those are the core skills and abilities that these three contain. And then how does the content interact with itself, with each other? So again, you're seeing elements M4, E6, and S8 here that overlap between math, science, and English language arts, and then specific separate activities. I have a better example I'll show you, but you can see here the important thing that we're pointing out is that you're going to be looking at your unit as an integrated piece where you are a multidisciplinary piece, which is where you're using multiple content areas to reach your unit objectives or your unit goals and standards. Another way to look at it is just that instruction centers around a concept, issue, problem, topic, or experience in this particular career-themed context, because this is California Center for College and Career. But if you'll notice that the center is a real-world issue, and that's really what you want to do no matter what you're teaching, is to create as much relevance to what you're teaching as possible. And then you explore a set of topics related to this real-world issue from various content area perspectives. And these all should integrate and bring the curriculum to life. I chose this for to look at just how you would do that in a cultural context. In this if this is called fusion, this is one word of saying integrated instruction. This is a type. Teachers fuse knowledge, skills, and even attitudes into regular school curriculum. For example, teaching language arts using social studies or science or math as a content vehicle. And that's, for example, from National Geographic Cengage is how they describe it. I chose Athabascan culture as the centerpiece. You know, in a lot of grades do cultural studies for Alaska. And I got this material, I got it from the Alaska Native Knowledge Network, but it's also compiled just by me, so you can look and see how you can integrate the different content areas. So you're reading about trade books, Athabascan life, past and present, and so you're doing reading skills. Science, what are the traditional ways of hunting and their relationship to the natural world of subsistence? Language arts, again, reading skills, writing skills relative to the culture, information that students can manipulate through reading and writing. Grammar, even looking at grammar from past tense, looking at grammar as what used to be as opposed to what is, and doing comparisons and contrasts where what does traditional life used to look like? What does life in an Athabascan community look like now? Art, of course, different Athabascan types of art and what form and function those types of art have in the Athabascan culture. And social studies geography, how the physical environment influenced migration patterns and lifestyle for the Athabascan people. So you can see that all of these elements contribute to a larger unit on Athabascan culture and people. This came right out of Alaska Native Knowledge Network. And what I want you to notice about this is the assessment piece, which we're going to get to in Module 6. But I want you to pay attention to here how this is pretty much a fundamental example of an integrated unit, only this is the integrated assessment. So the lifestyle of the salmon is the topic. And the objectives are not present here. but these are the formative assessments. The student can identify and name a salmon. That should have had a bullet so that they have, for example, a picture and they can, a fish and they name it. That is just identifying, that's the science of it. The student can identify and write the word salmon. So obviously this is a young group of students. There's your writing, language arts. Student can describe a life cycle back to science. Student can make addition, subtraction, multiplication calculations. Doesn't say related to salmon, but easily enough if you're doing a salmon count, for example, like the Fish and Wildlife does. The student can describe fishing. So that would be a descriptive written assessment. It would also be part of science. The student can explain how people make money by fishing. And we have a little bit of math again and economics even. The student can define and use the word economy. So you're moving your way up grade levels a little bit, which again is math. The student can locate Southeast Alaska on a map. You've got geography. Recall that they live in Southeast Alaska. Again, geography. Write a simple sentence. So all these are different. These are clearly for very young students. And visually is a graphic design program. So summative assessments. Now those are the formative assessments. Summative, the student will produce an infographic using visually that describes and explains the life cycle of the salmon and it's important to the economy of Southeast Alaska. That summative assessment is also a performance task. The student will work in a group to design so there's an interactive piece there, to design and perform a dramatic representation, or will write and sing a song about the life cycle of the salmon. Again, summative, you're synthesizing the summative assessment, synthesize what students have learned, and give them a chance to create a project based on what they've learned. Students will accurately calculate the approximate time that will pass for the completion of 3 generations of salmon to complete their life cycle. So this is all about the salmon. And these are all small performance tasks. I would say that in the big scope of things, from what I look at the formative assessment, that these are not culminating performance tasks, but they are performance tasks. The unit post-assessment will produce an infographic just as it's set up above. So there's the post-assessment, and that tells you that they know about salmon. So that's one way to have students complete that lesson, or that set of lessons maybe. So other means of integrating content, you can create learning centers. This is a learning center about insects. Students go to different centers in the room. They have a writing center. They've got a matching. These are young students. They've got brain development strategies. They've got word walls. They've got little math projects and so forth. And this is just what the link for that. For young children, getting learning centers where you have different types. You have language arts, math, social studies, and science integrated in different centers, and they rotate the centers and go to each center and do something. And you may be doing direct instruction part of the time, and they may be doing independent work part of the time. Again, you have your theme and the different content areas, theme-based units. I personally love theme-based units. I think they're the way to go, and because you can just do so much with a multidisciplinary unit if you have a theme. Topic and a theme. For example, holidays, rivers in Alaska, measuring dry weights, spiders, insects. So spiders would be part of insects. Measurement would be a theme, and then maybe even the theme might be, what do we use? Cooking, measuring and cooking. Project-based learning, students tackle a local problem. Some call this problem-based learning or place-based learning. So they select a topic, everybody, the students included, this is very constructivist, select a topic of study based on interests, curriculum standards, and local resources. The teacher finds out what the students already know and help them generate questions to explore it. So you can even, you're not going to do this as you're developing this unit, but when you're teaching, you can even, if you're creating a theme like this or a project, have the students help you with the essential questions. They can have you develop essential questions because that gets them thinking too. What do they want to know that can't be answered with a yes or no question? Students share their work with others in a finite answer. Culminating activity, and this really lends itself to culminating performance tasks. The advantage of this is that it's authentic, it's culturally relevant, flexible for learning styles, integrated, and higher order thinking processes are involved. So these are just different ways of organizing information for a multidisciplinary unit. And these are ways you can organize your lessons for your multidisciplinary unit. And so this is sort of the framework for you to look at. These are different frameworks for you to consider how you want to organize the lessons you're going to use for your unit or create for your unit. So your next steps are to expand your lesson into a multidisciplinary integrated unit. You're going to expand your standards, expand your goals, expand your essential questions and enduring understandings, and expand your objectives. So you're going to choose 4 additional content area standards that you can integrate into the theme topic of the unit you've started to create. You're going to transform each one of those standards into one transfer goal related to the big idea, because it's going to be, you're making a set of lessons for meeting the standards, but you're not going to cover the whole content area in 3 and 4 weeks. Just stay focused on what is specific to your grade level. You're going to expand the essential questions and enduring understandings. You're going to expand your objectives and learning targets, or your instructional activities, to encompass each transfer goal in both know and do categories. I put 1 each. Again, we're keeping it, you're not doing a semester's worth of work. You're doing a quarter's worth of work, not even a quarter, 3 to 4 weeks. A unit is typically 3 to 4 weeks. The relationship is important, that the collection of objectives should indicate the big idea and show or lead you to the overarching glue for the entire unit, and that all these are aligned with each other, consistent and cohesive. So you want something that isn't going to jump around all over the place, but leads you down the rosy path from small pieces of ideas till you put all those ideas together to make a fluid unit, a complete unit. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is to watch the PowerPoint about culturally relevant pedagogy. There is a graphic organizer that you are to keep for this class, for ED621B. You're going to keep this graphic organizer. You will be submitting it to me at the end of the class, of the course, for grade. So what you need to do is to watch the screencasts, and the PowerPoints will also be available to you, and add notes about the screencast to your note-taking graphic organizer. This graphic organizer you'll be using in 3 different modules, 5, 6, and 8. In 7, you're just going to be spending time on those learning opportunities and instructional activities. So anyway, that's what you're going to do next. So with that, I'll get off and let you absorb this small bit of information here, or maybe not so small, and move along with the culturally relevant pedagogy.